Fortnite's a pretty big deal, okay? And while your parents might know that because they read articles in the New York Times or the Washington Post, us kids know all the ins and outs. We know about a loot llama, we know about a golf cart, and we know about Drake, but what do we know of context? What do we know of backstory? What do we know of lore? What's up with those superheroes? What's up with that big crack in the sky? What is up with the Durr Burger? And why did it go from the southwestern corner of the map in Greasy Grove to the southwestern corner of America in California? Well, to find out, you're gonna have to make yourself miserable by lurking r/FortniteBR, or you're gonna have to make yourself extremely happy by watching this incredible video. Those are your only two options. I'm sorry. Part 1, Battle Royale, specifically the rocket launch. Let's start big, okay? The rocket launch was the biggest, baddest, most recentest Fortnite lore event, and it blew people's asses straight off their butts. The rocket launch was the hyped event of Season 4, both closing out the season and innovating on the way that Fortnite told its stories. Ever since the Comets showed up in the sky, Epic has been playing with telling stories by sneaking map changes into a lot of the Fortnite updates. But the rocket launch was the first live event with a better be there or you'll miss it feel to it. It was a really big deal. So big that players actually stopped fighting and worked together to build giant sky forts so they could all watch together until player Elemental Ray came by and destroyed them, killing 48 people and earning the highest solo kill count in the history of the game. I'm sure no one is bitter or upset about that at all. Epic Games teased the event for weeks before the launch, which happened at exactly 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on June 30th of this year. At the start of Season 4, players immediately noticed a real supervillainy kind of layer with a skull on it tucked into a mountain by snobby shores. A supervillainy layer with a big ol' rocket inside of it. Then the Week 8 loading screen showed the new blockbuster skin, the Visitor, futzing around with that rocket prior to launch, presumably as some kind of foreshadowing to the event itself. Then in the weeks before the launch actually happened, we started seeing a countdown clock on all the TVs, just like how we saw distress signals before the comet fell in Season 3, and a big old klaxon siren going off from inside the villain's lair. All of this comes together to promote the idea of Fortnite as a living, breathing game. So look forward to more events like this coming in the future. Some of them even being in real ass time, or RAT for short. Cracks in the sky! For those of you who had the misfortune of missing the rocket launch, here is the scuttlebutt. First, the villain's lair lit up with a burst of light, probably coming from the fiery thrust as that rocket took off. And then the rocket shot up into the sky, trailing smoke. Then the rocket boosters split away from the rocket, landing squarely in Anarchy Acres, and the shuttle sped off into space. Except something went wrong. Suddenly, another spaceship appeared in the sky, falling toward the ground at speed and shooting red lasers in the process. And just as it was about to collide with tilted towers, a crack in the sky opened and the rocket flew through it, disappearing. And then a moment later, crack! The sky ripped open again and the rocket took a quick tour around the island before disappearing into another rift. Then finally, a third rift opened up over Loot Lake and the rocket shot up and out of it, cracking the sky open for the last time. This time though, the cracks in the sky stayed put, and every day since the rocket launch, they've been extending outward. What do they mean? Rifts and portals! So what's the deal with those rifts and portals anyway? I'm just asking. The leading theory about the rocket launch right now is that there was not more than one rocket, but that the rockets we saw ripping through the sky erratically were all the same rocket, the rocket that launched from the villain's lair. Only the different re-entries of the rocket signified rips in the space-time continuum. This theory has been confirmed with the launch of Season 5, and the rifts can teleport more than just rockets. Players themselves can get to defy the laws of time and space by jumping through the rifts. Like the rocket, they will appear at a different part of the map where they can parachute back into action. It's very fun if you have a full team and you go-kart into the rifts, because it's funny to see go-karts smashing into the ground from far away. If you haven't done it, go do that right now. And more puzzlingly, things are changing on the map because of the rifts. All of a sudden, there are dinosaur footprints south of Snobby Shores and west of Greasy Grove. A cabin that allows you to teleport when you step inside of it has also appeared. And perhaps most disconcertingly at all, well-established map locations have been disappearing after sparkling the same kind of blue, veiny cracks that mark the sky. Most noticeably of these is, of course, our beloved Durr Burger. But never fear, that stupid, meaty idiot mascot has reappeared, only in the real world. Like I said before, in California. On July 6th, Instagrammer Sila Shilioni encountered the Durr Burger in real life out in the middle of a desert near Liano? It was desert near California. There was also an agent on site handing out business cards with a number that yielded a recording of the teleporting noise from Fortnite when called, as well as a VendorTech-style police car and a few signs that read, "This site is unstable, beware of possible effects, and if you can read this, you're in range of the anomaly." While the mysterious sighting has since been confirmed as a PR stunt by Epic, and a brilliant one at that, it was a great way to hint at the new Rift portals without giving too much away. The Visitor! But regardless of how these rifts came to affect the game, it all leaves us wondering, who is behind all of this? Some speculate that the architect of the rocket launch and all of the launch's aftermath is none other than the new blockbuster skin, the Visitor. And of course, there's that loading screen to back up this theory, but then the question remains, who is the Visitor? And what do they want with the world of Fortnite? Well, there's no doubt that the Visitor, whoever they are, is supposed to be perceived as incredibly powerful, as we know from the loading screen that depicts the Visitor as having broken out of the capsule inside the Meteor housed in Dusty Divot and doing like a weird, I'm scary thing. But yeah, it was the Meteor from season 3, you know, just to get, that was the Meteor he broke out of. In that loading screen, carnage that the Visitor has wrecked is clear and massive. All of the government/VendorTech vehicles have been overturned. There's even a helicopter crashed on the ground. This guy is nothing to mess with. It's clear, but what are his intentions? I guess we'll have to wait to find out. I mean, I hope it's not like he accidentally crashed into the planet and then there was only one rocket to leave, so he left. I mean, that might be it. Omega! Some other people speculate that Omega is somehow involved with the rocket launch, but this theory has been a little bit debunked, you guys. Omega was introduced as a supervillain at the top of Season 4. His load screens have shown him breaking out of jail and swearing revenge. He appeared in a hologram in the Heroes Lair loading screen, and he was shown assembling a robotic army before fighting Carbide in an epic throwdown. But by the 6th load screen, it becomes clear that Omega, as well as the rest of the heroes, are just characters in a ding-dang movie that's being filmed on Fortnite Island, probably for tax purposes. In that loading screen, he's hanging out on the set with Valor, who's one of the heroes, and they're acting all civil and sitting in director's chairs and drinking tea, just like Hollywood bigwigs always like to do. But why was the film set using a real rocket? Or like, why did the Visitor come to the island? Did they come to the island because there was a rocket on it? Or did he accidentally land there and it was really lucky that the film studio just built a rocket? Or like it was Omega's lair, so is Omega somehow still involved, even though he's an actor? Or is like the film crew in on it? Let's move on to the next one. The Meteor! One thing is for certain though, and that is that the Meteor from Season 3 is what carried the Visitor to Fortnite. It appeared as a blip in the skybox above the Fortnite map and grew larger and closer as the season progressed. Then, it crashed with the start of Season 4, bringing massive structural changes to the map with it. And though there was wide speculation at the time about whether the Meteor would take out Fortnite's major metropolis, Tilted Towers, it ended up ransacking the area that is now known as Dusty Divot, where the government facility that is actually probably a VendorTech facility has now been erected, and where the Visitor was apparently incubating. Comet holes being filled in! Before the big bad meteor with the Visitor in it crashed into the island, though, there were a series of smaller comets that touched down and left holes in the map at erratic places. All of them had a small handful of hop rocks in them, as well as some VendorTech police cars and dump trucks nearby. And now, all of those holes have been filled in, and a bunch of VendorTech caravans started carrying hop rocks and meteorites seemingly toward the villain's lair. Which is interesting on its own, but even more mysterious is that a lot of those trucks that are closer to the lair have been overturned and pillaged. None of the meteorites and hop rocks they were carrying remain, however, there are still some meteorites and hop rocks in the villain's lair, so maybe at least some of these extraterrestrial deliveries are making it to their destinations? So Omega's an actor, so that means that the studio was either filming with a real rocket, or the rocket was built by VendorTech and they were collecting hop rocks to put in the rocket to maybe create their own rift? Okay, that kind of makes sense, because then maybe they could like go into a parallel universe where the storm wasn't created. But then like, why were the caravans knocked over? Like, did the Visitor knock them over so that it could steal hop rocks and also put them in the rocket? I don't know. But whatever it is, it still begs the question, why did VendorTech let the film studio film in their secret compound where they're building a Rift universe time-breaking rocket? Cut all this out. This game doesn't make any sense. It's coming, but what is it? A lot of people are concerned that something or someone will emerge from the massive cracks in the sky. And with good reason, considering that these rifts seem to be able to teleport anything and everything, something certainly is gonna emerge from that bad boy. What it will be? Will it be enemy skins? More superheroes and supervillains? Wizards? Maybe a Dracula. I've always wanted to be a Dracula in my goth dreams. Maybe I'll get to be a Dracula. Well, the possibilities seem endless. There were a lot of hints that were dropped during season 4, and on the morning of July 8th, a frickin' stagecoach dropped into Moisty Mire out of nowhere, and now Moisty Mire's completely gone, replaced with the desert city of Paradise Palms. And while the stagecoach spelled out Moisty Mire's doom, it also teased the new Western-themed Season 5 Save the World event, Road Trip. Westworld meets Fortnite. Hello, what could be better? I hope it's more like Season 1 of Westworld and not like Season 2. Now people speculated that these rifts could cause time travel-esque shifts, and the new event definitely falls in line with that theory. I mean, we've got a Norse village with a big Viking ship in it, with snow in July? That's crazy. I mean, what'll Fortnite think of next? We retired the screaming voice because now we're in part 2. This is Save the World mode, and that is a game for adults. Synopsis. Regardless of all the exciting new things happening in Battle Royale, we would be remiss not to mention the lore in Save the World mode, especially given that the reason the Fortnite island exists is contained in the Save the World mode lore. Now, it's still a little unclear how the Road Trip Save the World event will affect the lore, so for now we're gonna leave the Road Trip event be and take a lens to the rich story that's been told so far in Save the World mode. For those of you who don't already know, Fortnite Island came to exist when a sudden massive storm wiped out 98% of the human population. Then, a flying robot named Ray, who is sort of like a less scary and less interesting GLaDOS, or a less annoying and equally uninteresting Claptrap, finds you among the chaotic aftermath and urges you to become the base's commander and to fight against the storm. The storm, which pours acid rain and carries with it zombie-like monsters called the Husk. You then rescue a scientist slash rock and roll burnout named Lars and use his van to get info on the storm by filling up a hot air balloon. While Lars's van is in the storm, someone on the radio mentions VendorTech, a biotech company who may be involved slash responsible for the storm. And I told you we were gonna explain what VendorTech was. For most of the game though, you're just expanding the storm shield of your base so that you can rescue more survivors while you kind of piece together information about where the storm is even coming from. Dr. Vendor Minh and VendorTech. As the game progresses, it becomes clear that VendorTech was created by Dr. Vendor Minh, who is also the inventor of the annoying robot Ray, the designer of the storm shield that protects your base from the storm and lets you collect refugees, and the inventor of all the cool weapons that you use in Battle Royale to kill people. Dr. Vendor Minh is also the namesake for the in-game currency V-Bucks. So that's pretty cool. Like, you all probably thought it meant like Virgin Bucks. And there's a lot of back and forth over what his role in Battle Royale actually is. Like, his role in Save the World mode's very clear, but in Battle Royale, it's a little more murky. But one of the really cool theories is that Battle Royale is actually a simulation that Vendor Minh built to train people for fighting the Husks in Save the World mode. This game theory has not yet been confirmed, but it kind of makes sense if you play Save the World mode. Oh, and perhaps the most elusive thing about Dr. Vendor Minh is Dr. Vendor Minh himself, because he's missing in that story over there. The world of Fortnite. Last but not least, the world itself. Where does Fortnite take place? Is it Earth? Well, none of the promotional material for Fortnite ever used the word Earth when describing the world. It's always just the world this and the world that, so it's pretty likely that Fortnite takes place elsewhere in the universe. But where? Is it a parallel universe? Is it like fake Earth, where we call it world? No. There's one theory, set forth by MatPat himself, the game theorist, where he says Fortnite takes place on the sexiest planet of all. That's right, Venus. And this kind of makes logical sense. The gravity of Fortnite matches up with that of Venus. The storm is the same kind of storm that occurs in Venus, minus the zombies, at least as far as we know. And the map shows signs that the climate is highly acidic, the way that Venus's atmosphere is. Like, the paint on the buildings is always peeling, all the structures look rusty, there are no fish in any of the water, you know, typical Venus stuff. Additionally, a map of what Venus would look like if it was terraformed looks very similar to a frame of the world shown in Save the World mode. Obviously, this is all theoretical, but it's fun to guess and recycle things that MatPat said. And that's all the lore I got for you guys. That's the lore that I felt was appropriate for this time and place, and that's all there is. Now, I'm Peter. I'm the guy referred to in the comments as the Fortnite guy or the guy with the hair, but you can refer to me as my true name, which is King Fortnite. Now, if you liked this video, you can hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, you can hit the like button just to like get at me in this weird like meta kind of way. Like that'd be really clever and cool. You can hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And if you want us popping in your feed somewhat intrusively, you can hit that bell icon and that's really nice. Now, last thing before you do, we do a console giveaway over here at the leaderboard. I said doo-doo back there. If you want to know about that, go to leaderboard.nyc/giveaway and enter the console giveaway thing. You can get all sorts of consoles. Like imagine a console in your head. That's one of the standard ones and you can get it. Now, some of you long-running Fortnuts might remember that all I want in the entire world is someone to play Save the World mode with me. So consider this a cry for help. I'll be okay. Stay tuned to the leaderboard, your home for video game facts.